Going to be doing an overview of the Epistle of Hebrews by Stephanie Evans. In this overview, we are going to go over authorship, purpose, cultural influence, and the view of Jesus. The epistle or letter to the Hebrews is dated to be written in the 1st century. This letter was not accepted as canon by Hippolytus, Gaines, or Novation, and is absent from the Marathonian list created by the Romans. The Africans also shared this view. Hilary of Poitiers was the first in the Western world to accept Hebrews as canon. Some speculate that it was written by Clement of Rome, because there are clear traces of Hebrews in the Clement's letter to the Corinthians. Others theorize that it was written by Barnabas because Hebrews was quoted by Tertullian, who ascribed the quotation to Barnabas. Most widely accepted is the theory that it was written by Paul in Aramaic and translated to Greek by Luke. Pauline authorship was not accepted until the 4th century. This letter was written with two main purposes in mind. First, that the case for the new covenant in Christ would be stronger. And second, to put a stop to apathy and apostasy in the church. Apostasy is the turning away of the faith. So next poses the question, how is it outlined? It reads like a sermon, but closes like a letter. It's speculated that this was to be read to the church with the salutation to be made by the one reading it. Finally, what is the voice of the letter? When read, it sounds more philosophical and mystical. This supports the argument that Paul is not the author because it lacks the emotional intensity of the other Pauline letters. The Epistle of Hebrews was written at a time when Greek influence was prevalent. Today I'm going to compare the differences in belief from those with the Greek background or viewpoints versus those with the Hebrew background or viewpoint. The Greeks would say that they were searching for the truth. The Hebrews search for God. The Greeks would say, I know what I believe. The Hebrews would say, I know who I have believed. The Greeks believed that in order to know or have relationship with God, you would have to be apart from the body. The Hebrews believed that man could know God here and now within the body. This letter communicated a view of Jesus that can be disseminated into 5 Greek words. The first is archegos, which means author of our faith, leader, commander, and beginner of something that still exists today, or pioneer that others follow. Hebrews 12:12 says, let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith. The second Greek word is podromos. It was a military term that described the pilot boat that sailed in front of the larger vessels. It was used to communicate that Jesus goes first and we follow. Hebrews 6:20a says, where Jesus, who went before us, has entered on our behalf. The third Greek word is engetes, which means guarantor of a better covenant. Hebrews 7:22 says, because of this oath, Jesus has become the guarantor of a better covenant. The fourth Greek word used is mesites, which means mediator. Hebrews 8:6 says, but the ministry Jesus has received is as superior to theirs as the covenant which he is mediator is superior to the old one, and is founded to be better promises. The last word is pontifex, which is not Greek, but it is rather Latin, and it means bridge builder. Jesus is the bridge into the presence of God. There are several different main points communicated within Hebrews. The first is that the law is bound to be broken, that priests are imperfect. They are sinners who cannot atone for sin, and they are mortal men subject to death. that the old covenant is ineffective. It requires continual sacrifices with no permanent effect on the situation created by sin. That animal sacrifice does not last. That God desires a sacrifice of life dedicated to His will. That Jesus is that perfect sacrifice of this new covenant, and that He was divinely appointed to be such. And that is a brief overview and summary of the book of Hebrews.